Celtic Connections.
Listen to Celtic Connections every Saturday afternoon at 1 on KSJE 90.9 FM, Farmington.
Hi, this is Sergio Miałniszenko with the Brazilian Hour. I would like to invite you to join me every week with the best and most exciting music of Brazil. Every week, right here.
Tune in the Brazilian Hour every Saturday night at 11 on KSJE Farmington.
On the Media is all about print, broadcast, and the internet.
And civil liberties, we do a lot on that.
The show is about technological utopia and creepy dystopia.
Law and lawbreakers.
Blowhards and liars.
Mainly, though, On the Media is about an hour. Please spend it with us.
Saturday mornings at 7 on KSJE Farmington. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, your community hospital with a rich heritage that dates back to before New Mexico was a state. We've been improving the health of the Four Corners since 1910. As a nonprofit hospital, San Juan Regional Medical Center is a values-driven organization. We strive to deliver on our mission to personalize health care and create vitality and enthusiasm in healing. We are here for you when you need us, offering a comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and emergency care services. (8:36) Friday morning here on KSJE. You're listening to the Scott Michlin Morning Program. Just a moment, I'll be talking again with my guest, Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett, but we want to talk a little bit about the weather, which seems to be kind of a broken record for the next several days. We are talking about mostly sunny skies, cooler temperatures during the day, but clear and cool overnight. 82 for a high today in Farmington, 81 tomorrow and Sunday, 79 by Monday, and overnight lows, as you can see, 53 tonight, 49 tomorrow night, 52 right around mid to upper 40s for next week, and highs next week in the upper 70s. So fall weather definitely has arrived. As I mentioned, Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett is my guest this morning. Mayor Duckett, once again, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Yes, sir.
It's good to have you here.
Well, I'm excited as always.
Well, good. And you're experiencing the whole visual radio thing this morning, right?
Seriously,
how about that?
Can we just rave on this for a minute?
Well, I don't know. We don't have to rave on it, but
I was just hoping that we'd have some people out here. You know, like
I'm sorry your fan club is not out in the hallway. Yeah.
We love Michlin. We love Michlin.
Right. We kind of have an empty hall that we can show people right now, but I imagine the crowds are gathering outside, perhaps around your car or something.
Hope not.
Mayor Duckett, but we'll see. But thank you. We're very excited about this, and we think it's something. Glad that KSJE can provide this to the community, and I think it's something the community deserves. And we're glad to be able to do it with the support of folks like yourself and local businesses and other individuals who support this radio station. San Juan College, of course. So that's what we've been able to do.
It is a huge upgrade.
Isn't it, right?
It really is, to be able to put the visual component to it. Man, so worldwide now.
We're excited. And, and the internet apparently is not just a little fad. It's going to be here for a while.
Right.
So
so is rap music, but
that's
still around too.
It is still around. That's true. But anyway, it's good to have you here.
Yes,
and we want to talk a little bit about the drought, because that's still here too.
It sure is.
And not in a good way. The weather forecast just showed us that we're not going to get any more precipitation. What we got yesterday is probably what we're going to get for a while.
It's not, the precipitation, and I just hope the future for snow is better than what precipitation has been as we come into these later months of the year. So,
right.
But we've talked about this before. Lake Mead, Lake Powell's way down. The Colorado River's way down. Last night they released additional water from the Navajo Reservoir to increase the flow through the San Juan River.
Right.
And so it's not gotten any better yet. So we're still in stage 2. We've never gone to stage 3. And which is nice, because we definitely didn't want to put any of those surcharges on anybody's bill.
Right.
But we still ask for people to be diligent in making sure that they're only watering the 3 days a week, and they're still doing the things inside their home. And it's easy I think it's easy to kind of get lazy on some of the stuff. I know I have a little bit. We were very rigorous at the beginning of the summer and doing little things. My wife, God bless her, she's still very rigorous, so I've got to follow her lead now. But yeah, making sure we're doing all we can to get to that 15% decrease, which we're really close to. So
right, and we're showing the stage 2 kind of graphic here, the water tip, and basically the other concerning thing is the stream flows in the Animas River. And you were at the park last night, I think, and saw just how little water there is.
You can walk right across the Animas River right now. And what's interesting is to see how much vegetation is growing up out of the river bed.
In the river, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, there's trees growing in the middle of the river now.
Okay, interesting. But yeah, but that is just what we see. And for this time of year, that's usually not what we see. Which is
usually not that low.
Yeah,
that's certainly not that low. So we've actually been able to manage the lake, how much we've been pumping into the lake from the river throughout this whole summer, and it's stayed in the mid-90s,
right?
Even as the summer has waned on. So that's a positive thing, and that's something we were hopeful for. But we still have the opportunity with Lake Nighthorse, and there is a release planned for Lake Nighthorse to release water down for us to see how that process works.
Right. We're showing the water conservation report. This is on the city's website, by the way, everybody. You can always take a look at this and see how we are doing as city residents. The target is about, what is that, 14.7 million gallon day average, and I think we came in at about 15.8, so we're a little bit over that.
1.1 million gallons a day over for the last, was it 15 days?
I think so.
Something like that. So, or 30-day rolling average.
That's what it is. Okay, for a month or so. But anyway, everyone can look at that and take a look. And this issue you mentioned about Lake Nighthorse, I think, is interesting because this is the new reservoir that's been opened and built near Durango, but the city of Farmington and the San Juan Water Commission does have rights to some of that stored water.
Nation, right? Yeah, there's a lot of entities that have built into that program, the Animas La Plata project.
These entities help pay for it, so they get the results and the benefits, hopefully.
Yeah. And one of the things we're looking at with this CTED fund is also the opportunity of expanding our capacity at Farmington Lake. And that has multiple reasons for that. One, of course, is that more water that we store, the better the safer we are in times of drought or times of toxic river waste flowing from mines in Colorado,
which we've seen, unfortunately. That's right.
Could you imagine if both things happen at the same time? So, those are things we have to take into consideration. But also the recreation component. When there's more water in the lake, it provides more recreational opportunities. Because right now, if we drop to 95% of capacity in the lake, we have to pull all the wonderful widgets that we have out there, wibbits that we have in the beach area.
Okay.
We actually have to pull those out because the water's too low and they have to be
causes other issues, I suppose.
Causes other issues. So, so the possibility there, we're looking at the engineering studies to see if there is a potential to expand. You know, if you only raised it by 5 feet, what would that do? But certainly, we wouldn't do anything that would ever threaten the integrity of the dam. So
right. But I guess there's things that can be done. But again, because you now have this dedicated source of revenue coming in for projects like this, you can have these conversations.
That's right.
Whereas before this, it was a non-starter basically. It'd be nice to have.
For recreational things, yeah,
we can't afford it.
Starter.
Yeah.
Or we couldn't afford it. That's exactly right.
And I know there's a lot of things. So that's I think it's very exciting. And again, as I mentioned in the first part of the program, you know, there are a lot of other communities that have probably faced an uncertain future or challenges like the city of Farmington is now facing, and they maybe decided to just sit back and not do anything or not be proactive. And that's where I think the difference lies, is that this is a city that is taken control of its future and trying to control the things that it can control, because there are a lot of things that we've been talking about that we cannot control.
Yeah. You know, I've thought long and hard about those cities that have made those decisions, because I think we drive by them sometimes and you're like, what used to be here?
Right.
And I was determined that that's not going to be the case for my city. And that momentum, that push on me really came from the people who are engaged and are working on behalf of the people of Farmington every single day. Within whatever organization or whatever group that they're working for, I'm always amazed at the passion that exists here with the folks that are surrounding me and telling me we've got to push forward. And look, we have so many good things going for us, even in the midst of what lies ahead and in the changing environment in oil and gas. We have so many good things going for us. And I'm a big proponent of the idea that you got to build on your strengths and you got to minimize your weaknesses so that they overshadow those things that could be long-term pain for you. So how do we overcome that? Well, it starts with attitude. And every day, if we wake up with the right attitude and we approach life in a way that says today's going to be the best day, well, I have to have that same idea if I'm going to lead this city. And that's exactly what I believe in. So,
but it's a touchy situation sometimes because the city can only do so much.
That's right.
It can't do everything.
We don't want government doing everything.
Mayor Duckett, build me a new radio station, and the city can't really build me a new radio station.
No.
We built it ourselves. We need to do that on our own. But the city can make conditions maybe that would be beneficial for a radio station or beneficial for a business to move into town, to open up on Main Street and do some improvements to Main Street to allow folks to come down and enjoy a downtown Farmington.
I'm glad that you point that out. I get a number of letters from some of our younger citizens here in high school, and it's amazing how many of them want us to build business. That's what they want city to do because they don't know. That's not what government's designed to do. Come on, build
an old Navy,
well,
Mayor Duckett. Why can't you do that?
Right. A lot of people would even question whether or not what we're doing is what government should be doing. Is that really what we want? Is the government to market us and to provide? Well, you know what? That's what other cities are doing right now in order to attract people to their area, in order to attract business to their area. That's what they're having to do. When I came in here today, the first thing I saw as I walked in was the seal of Farmington. What's interesting about that to me is that's our marketing. That's what we use for marketing. So Scott Michlin's show today, it shows the seal of Farmington, which is a 50-year-old emblem, or maybe it's not that old, I don't know.
Right.
But it's certainly, if I go to conferences or if I'm going to the outdoor recreation industry meetings and symposiums and those things, that emblem is what we're using right now to say we're from the city of Farmington. That's not who we are, though. I mean, it's who we are, but we want to market us. We want Farmington to shout out that jolt your journey and where outdoor lovers thrive, and those are the things that we want to be saying to people when we go outward and we start being an ambassador for our city. So we've got to get away from that mentality. In my mind, we have to flip this and say, look, if we want to survive, if we want to thrive, we're going to have to invest some money into ourselves and into the city, and we're going to have to get rid of blight, and we're going to have to work on some of these projects that we've been talking about for 20 years in order to get this done. So that's yeah.
Well, and that's what we're doing.
Well, that's what you're doing. Certainly argue another way for it, but
right. But we're about to embark. The city is about to embark on a major downtown revitalization project, which has a lot of infrastructure improvements that maybe is not as visible to the public as would be the street changes that are coming to Main Street downtown.
Seen, yeah.
Right, but it's part of this project, right?
Absolutely.
Utility improvements and things like that. And then, of course, there's the improvements at Brookside Park with Brookside Bay.
Yep.
And the big water park that will be open by next summer is the plan, I think.
June 1st, still the goal, and you can see right now as you drive by it,
they're moving a lot of dirt, man.
It's beautiful. So very excited about that.
And this project and the downtown project, I think, are all being undertaken with this kind of greater goal in mind of the marketing of the city of Farmington, the attractions of visitors, outdoor lovers thrive. Making downtown a thriving place and multimodal for people who are driving, who are biking, who are walking. All this is part of this ongoing investment of public money.
I'm going to use the hot phrase right now, and that's placemaking. We're focused on placemaking. If I come here from anywhere, if I just live here, being able to go to places where I feel like there's something for me to do or my kids to do or my parents to do, I mean, that provides a place of home. So when we consider what we're with let's just kind of step back for a minute. Lake Farmington, river trails, bike paths that go across the city that allow us to connect intermodally using bikes, using pathways for walking. If I could leave my house up on Foothills Drive and take my bike down and cross Main Street to get into a river trail on that end of town and ride my bike all the way to the hospital, and that's where I choose to work, I mean, that's all going to be connected. You're going to be able to take that path and hit every point in the city from these trails that we're going to create. That to me is improving the quality of life and the health of our city and promotes us on a different level than we've ever been promoted before. I mean, let's face it, in 1950 when we zoned the river trail, we gave it to industry. When nobody had the foresight then to say, man, this is going to be a hot commodity for us. Right. We really have to do something with this river trail or river property.
Sure.
And instead they chose otherwise.
But it was a
retrofit.
It was a railroad right of way in a lot of parts of it too.
It is. You're right.
And so that was just the way that it was used back then. That's because it was flat and available and there you go. But it just shows how things have changed in the course of 50 years.
Yeah.
And for a lot of folks who are maybe watching us and listening to us this morning, it's also different to say, there are a lot of folks maybe who don't get up for work in the morning, get in their car and drive to work, but they get on their bike and bike to work, or they want to go on a 20-mile bike ride, and they don't want to have to deal with traffic or things like that. That is part of the new economy, I suppose, and the new recreation, I suppose.
We see it all over. Certainly you go to Denver, go to these places in Colorado, go to Ogden, Utah, and that's exactly what people are doing. And
I would even say Durango, Colorado.
I was going to move there. Of course, I was going to use Durango as well.
Right.
And they've been doing it for so long that it's
sure.
just become a part of who they are. It's their culture. And even in conversations we have with outdoor recreation enthusiasts, there's a component of the mountain bikers here in our area who say, you guys only care about off-roading. And Durango, of course, has that niche. They have that mountain bike niche. Well, why? Well, because they've had the paths there for a long time. So why has our niche been off-roading? Well, because we have the Glade Run Recreation Area that is filled with dirt bike tracks and four-wheeler tracks, and that's helped develop that. So it's just it's an interesting component, but we share that with Durango, and that's what we have to promote more. Is, look, it's not us versus them. It's we together that are in this. And when I want a mountain bike, I can go to both places, which, by the way, we have some amazing mountain bike trails, and we do, and we're improving those as we speak. So, and
I think a lot of another component of this is signage, right? Is helping to let folks know who live here, but also who are visiting here, how to get to these places, because some of it's the best kept secrets in town. No. No, but I know that's on the list, right?
It's the first thing on the list. Let's just to be completely honest. I mean, how can anybody promote Farmington if they don't know what exists here? And so we do have a sign package that has gone to the CVB, who's a partner with us in this project. Their board approved it unanimously this week. It's going to come before council, but it's going to be it's placemaking signs or wayfinding signs. So when I come into town from, let's say I'm coming in from the Aztec side, I'm going to see a sign that shows me all the recreational, cultural things that lie ahead. So it's going to have a mountain bike emblem on it. It's going to have off-roading emblem on it. It's going to have a baseball player on it, a golfer, a disc golfer, a cultural sign for Lions. And as I travel up, Pinion Hills, it will slowly take me to those places of interest. And so now if I'm sitting at a restaurant and I'm a waiter and somebody says, what's there to do to Farmington? I can envision in my mind those signs that I see, man, there's a lot to do here. I don't have to just send people north of the border to have a good time. I know what we can do here, and I can tell you about it.
Right.
So I'm excited about the sign. I think the signage program is going to be awesome.
And when they tell us, then the visitors can go out and follow the signs to get to where they're talking about.
Absolutely.
And find these places.
It's going to be easy. Right. It's going to be easy. And we have to do that same thing in the Glade. We have to do the same thing on our mountain bike trails. If we want to say that we have world-class off-road trails, but somebody says, well, how do I get to this trail called Artrock? There's no, well, you go out there and you're going to hang
after the third rock.
Yeah, you're going to hang a left over, and hopefully there's this little sign off of this one trail that says Artrock. We can't do that. If I put a GoPro on my Razor, which I don't have anymore, unfortunately, but if I put a GoPro on a Razor and I go out there and I put that on YouTube, and that somebody says, "Oh, I want to go see that," well, we have one guy here in town that's renting Razors. We have a bunch of people who could help you find it, but they're not in business to help you find it. So there's still a gap that exists in that realm where we're trying to promote outdoor industry and tourism, and we need people to see the opportunity in filling that gap.
And that's the Ori Outdoor Recreation Industry Initiative. Right.
Well, and that's in the business component of bringing industry, outfitters and rental companies and guides. I mean, that's what we really need to start pushing that area the way it needs to be pushed.
And we've seen some of that already this summer, actually, with some of the rentals that were taking place down at the river. You can rent a bike, you can rent a raft, you can do all kinds of things and where you couldn't before. And this has been another city private-public partnership to allow maybe a private business in the city park to do this, so people don't have to rent a raft on the other side of town and then schlep it over to the river and put it in.
Darren and Cameron, I want to say it's Animas River Explorers, they put themselves out there this year, and they said, we're going to take the leap and we're going to try this out, and they did it in the year of drought, which unfortunately hurts their tube rentals. But the community, I would ask the community to go out and take advantage of these companies that are opening up, and get your kids and get your parents and get yourself out there and see the opportunities that exist. They're not going to thrive if we don't support them in our own way. So,
good advice. That's true. Even in the off season, which is kind of where we are these days, right? And they're still open. and functioning
on the weekends.
So so that's good. Before we run out of time, Mayor Duckett, I do want to ask you about another issue that the city faces, and that is shelter. Winter's coming. We've had the city has been working with the Salvation Army, I think, in the past to open up the roof shelter during the winter months, and that is still the plan for this winter. There are maybe some changes being discussed.
You know, we're a community that cares. We want to make sure that the people, regardless of where they're at in their lives, they're not left on the street, they're not left cold. We don't find them in the morning in an unfortunate situation. So yeah, I mean, the roof remains open. We're looking at moving the roof, but it won't be immediately at the beginning of this cold season. And the idea here is that the campus mentality of care that we've talked about for 10, 15 years, I'm not sure how long this goes back, but moving and locating those types of services out to where the TOTA Behavioral Health is, where our Joint Intervention Program and Sobering Center is. So utilizing that facility and that campus for those things.
Got you. But that's kind of maybe the long-range plan for that shelter?
Correct.
To have it out at that area where there's access to other services right nearby.
Right nearby.
And that's the point.
And here's why. And I don't know if we have a minute to talk about this, but part of this, I did a ride-along last year, and it was during the wintertime, and I went to the Sobering Center, and it was empty. And it was night, and it was cold. And I said, well, how come nobody's here tonight? Well, they said, Chris Carlson told me, well, when the roof opens up, they just go to the roof. So they're not coming through and getting the care and getting the opportunity to talk to them about the potential for treatment and getting themselves better. They just go to the roof. And I said, well, why do we have two things serving the same population when we have, 40-plus beds in this area that we could be helping these folks with? And so I think that helped kind of, I don't want to say that but it's been a part of the plan for a long time.
Right.
So now we move the roof out there. We have the ARU unit, which we've talked about, alternative response unit that's staffed by a firefighter and a police officer that can actually assess the medical situation of any down subject. They're the first call for those folks. So then they can go out there, they assess them, they take them to the sobering center, they can immediately have them checked in if they are in need of medical or if they're drunk,
right,
where they're in trouble, and then they can go from the sobering center to the roof. And it's a progression that works. So that's our hope.
Interesting. Well, it's another, again, you said this is a community that cares, and I think it does by looking at all the things that the city supports and funds without any expectation of getting that money back. I mean,
the county helps fund JIP.
Right.
PMS helps fund JIP.
I mean, there's the hospital and all those too.
They're all a part of that component.
Sure. But it's still something that the community pulls together to make available
all of those.
For some of our most vulnerable population.
Right.
So there you are. Mayor Duckett, always a pleasure.
I love it here, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Come back anytime.
Thank you.
All right. Mayor Nate Duckett, my guest here on KSJE. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a great Friday and a great weekend. I'm Scott Michlin. Be back with you at 8 a.m. Monday morning right here on KSJE Farmington.
From its start as an optimistic approach to improving the human condition, eugenics degenerated into a racist tool in the hands of bigots.
A Moment in Time with Dan Roberts.
The fundamental problem with eugenics was that it focused primarily on inborn characteristics and almost completely disregarded social, environmental, educational, and physical factors when examining human beings. Basically, eugenicists advocated a form of genetic determinism, and it all depended on who was